Hello, everyone, and welcome to the meetup about spec-driven development versus vibe coding. So before I start, I will share a bit about me. My name is Haim Michael, and I'm into software development ever since I was a kid. So it's a huge amount of time, many years. I started making my living from software development nearly 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. Now, you can find more information about me in my blog, blog.lifemichael.com. My company, at least the part of my company that focus on training, this is what I love most. I deliver training, empower software developers in IT companies worldwide, especially when it comes to advanced topics. And I'm into many advanced topics. I continuously learn, evolve, and a bit of development as well. So before moving forward, let me just take you to my blog. On top, you can find the newsletter tab where you can enroll for free. I run four professional newsletters every month. I curate the top news in each one of these four domains and create a newsletter. It is delivered on LinkedIn platform. You can also find the communities I run, lots of groups. We have the Meetup group, but we also have groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. There is a big one that focus on Python, which is nearly 100,000 members. And my YouTube channel, where you can find thousands of video clips, both in Hebrew and English, mainly in English, about various topics, books I wrote in my life, and also you can find list of talks I try to create those talks I deliver during the years, and you can usually find a link to the slides and the video. One specific talk that might be interesting for you is my talk about spec-driven development with Kiro. It was a longer talk compared with this one, delivered in Lithuania nearly 2 months ago. And you can find a link to the post where you find the slides and the video. But now let's get back to our topic. So this specific meetup is about spec-driven development versus vibe coding. However, it isn't just about either we do spec or vibe. We can blend, and there are other options as well. It is just that these two paths are the most dominant ones when we think about using AI in software development. So I hope in this meetup you will learn about the all new spec-driven development methodology and the way it is implemented using AI, and you become familiar with advantages and disadvantages and become aware of when vibe coding fits, when spec-driven development fits, and when none of them will fit the case. Now, what we already know in software development, and I will try to explain the simplest way possible, so even those that don't have background in software development will understand what I'm saying, because this meetup is not just for software developers. So we know what AI is. This is the artificial intelligence somewhere on the server side that does amazing stuff for us. Now, GenAI, the shortcut for generative AI, is the possibility of that artificial intelligence to generate content. And that content can be also text, and it can also be text that is actually code in every programming language we have in mind. And it works amazing. Now, developers already use generative AI. They use it for code completion. They start coding, and then the generative AI suggests what comes next. They use it for creating project skeleton. A developer wants to develop a server side that works as RESTful web service using a specific library. It tells AI what it wants, and AI generates something fundamental that the developer can take and continue the work with it. Developers use AI for code review. They get feedback, detailed feedback about code that they work on. Generative AI can generate code that actually tests. So we don't need, don't need, let's say it like this. Let's say that developers that write tests, write code that tests other code, well, most of them can be easily replaced. Not all. We still need a man in the loop for now, yeah? We can use generative AI to create the documentation, something that we don't like, the developers, we don't like to create documentation. It does it pretty well, and we just need to overview and verify. And we can get explanation. And there is something new known as agentic coding. Agentic comes from the word agent. So keyword, the IDE keyword that I'm going to use in my demo already has small AI agents that work for me. So I, as a developer, no longer write code. I orchestrate the agents that do things for me. There is an agent that continuously writes documentation, an agent that continuously writes tests, and so on. So this is what we already know. This is what most of the developers that use AI are aware of, and they do it daily on a daily basis, so it's not new for software developers, what I've just covered. Now, what is vibe coding? When we say vibe coding, what do we mean? So saying vibe coding is it's an informal definition for the interaction that takes place between the developer and AI. The developer tells to AI, okay, write a program that does something, and AI generate that program, and then the developer, or it doesn't have to be a developer, it can be anyone, he says, no, I don't want that, I want it to work a bit different, change it to work a bit different the way I want. And then we have interaction, a cycling, through which we eventually get something that works. Now, there are cases that vibe coding fits. Yesterday, I had a session of vibe coding because vibe coding fits what I needed. I wanted to add to lifemichael.com a small code that will show snowflakes falling from from top of the screen to the bottom, and an airplane with a sign on which there will be the text Happy New Year 2026. So if you try to browse lifemichael.com, you will see it. And then I wanted it to work only once, and then I wanted a few more things. So that was the result. What you will see online is the result of that session I had with AI. Vibe coding for that specific case fitted. It was great. Well, eventually I did some few coding changes because I understood the code, but I didn't write the code. It was kind of as if I have a student or a developer for $20 a month doing the work for me. That was great. So this is the ritual. Back and forward, we tell AI change it to something else, and this way we continuously evolve something. We don't care about the code. Usually we don't look at it. So this is vibe coding. Now, what spec-driven is something else. Now, spec-driven, for me, is a new methodology, or old new, because in the past, this is what some people thought the way for developing new applications, but developers didn't like it because they wanted to move forward as fast as possible. And this is how the agile methodologies emerge. Don't spend time on documentation. We don't need that. Just code something, and then the client will say, change it, and you will change it, and the client will be happy because we are agile, and there are songs, and it's a great movement. That was great in the past. And you will see why. In the past, because we didn't use AI. So today that we have AI, we can do things different. We can write the requirements for what we want. And that will be an excellent document that explains exactly what we want. We can draw diagrams, UML diagrams. We can describe the requirements in a way that AI will understand it even better. And then AI will generate the application, generate the code. Now, what I've just explained is just part of the story. Well, implementing spec-driven development today is feasible through various plugins, tools, and so on. But when you check what JetBrains provide us and what Amazon provide us, then it is far beyond what I've just explained. But yet, we still have the initial documents that describe what we want, what the application is about to do, what are the requirements, how the UI will look, and so on. And AI digest everything and produce the code accordingly. But wait, this is not the entire story. This is something, in short, that fits what we have today with most or all of those tools that support SDD. When it comes to Kiro and the tools coming from JetBrains, it is far beyond what I've just explained. And I will show you step by step. Okay. So before we go over the benefits of each one of these paths, approaches, the benefits, the disadvantages, and the cases when it fits, first, bear in mind that you're not obliged to develop the entire system in Vibe, using Vibe coding or using Spec-Driven. You can blend, okay? You're also always have the possibility to take the entire project and split it into small ones. What is the best decision? Well, there are lots of factors about that. It all depends in the company, the culture, everything, lots of things. Now, what I want to do is to show you Kiro. So this is how Kiro looks like. Now, Kiro is based on VS Code. So if you are familiar with VS Code, it will be very simple to learn how to use Kiro. By the way, I prefer the tools coming from JetBrains. I think they are better than VS Code. But when I started playing with spec-driven development, all I had is Kiro. So I moved forward with Kiro. So with Kiro, the first thing you are doing when using Kiro is the steering document, not the spec, the steering document. Now, the steering documents are the basic documents that describe the project, the business aspect. Trust me, it takes quite some time to complete the steering documents. I'm now working on a project after lots of examination, mainly from the business perspective, not related to coding. Coding is not a problem today. The issues we have, the questions we have is of another nature. It's not about coding and software development. It's about business, how it will look, the UI, the UX, the flow, everything else. So I'm still working on the steering document, and here you will find documents including the business plan, including describing what is it going to be, what the application, the system is going to provide, and so on. And only when you complete with those documents, and by the way, you can also connect Kiro with MCP servers to digest additional information from other sources. MCP server is kind of a server for lots of data organized somewhere, and you can connect your IDE with that MCP server, so the AI in your IDE will use that data. So if we are dealing with a huge company, we can have a main MCP server that all developers will be connected with. That MCP server can even provide the style guide for how code should look like, security guidelines, and so on. Everything will be taken into account by AI. And only when you complete with the steering document, then you move to the spec. And the spec, when working with Kiro, includes 3 phases. And the same with JetBrains. They followed Kiro. They do it very similar. First, the requirements. Now, the same with the steering documents that you could generate with the help of AI. You can ask him, do it for me, and then you go over, see that it fits what you are looking for. And trust me, AI knows more than all of us. You just need to put it in the right direction. It's like the best student in class, far beyond that. Just that you need to point it to the right direction. So you can use AI to produce the steering, and then you move forward to the requirements. And the requirements, you can ask AI, you can ask Kiro to do it for you, and then you just go over, verify that it fits. is actually the requirements, and they use what is known as EARS. EARS is a way for stating the exact requirements. System engineers are familiar with it. If you don't know EARS, you can easily learn it. You can also use AI to do it for you. You just go over, verify. And then when you complete with the requirement, you ask Kiro to produce the design documents. I just want to remind you, the specs in Kiro include 3 documents, 3 phases: requirements, design, and task list. And then it generates the design. Which technology, how the testing will take place, and everything there is to think about. And only the last part, you ask Kiro, when the design is finished, generate a list of tasks. Now, that list of tasks is a list of tasks that you just need to complete one after the other. And when all tasks are completed, you have the entire application ready for you to use it. So you just need to click start. When the task completed, you get green light saying task completed. And you do it step by step. And if there is a problem, then the AI agent that is doing that for you, the AI, not agent, the AI that inside Kiro that does it for you, says, okay, there is a problem. I suggest to solve it this way. Do you agree? And you either agree or don't agree. And every step in those list of tasks, you approve. So you are the man in the loop. You see exactly what is the code that is written, and you either approve or not approve. Now, questions, excuse me, by the end, because there are lots of questions. And we have 10 minutes left, 10 or 15 minutes. So just let me go over what I planned, and then all questions will be answered. So step by step, and you can, if you want, you can blend between a session that is spec-driven with a session that is Vibe. You can see there is also the option of Vibe. In Vibe, you say what you want, and it generates for you. Now, based on my experience so far, the best, well, it depends on the project, but in some cases, take the project and split it into small ones and work on each one of them separately, and then you put them all together, because when the tool becomes heavy, loaded with lots of documents, it starts working slow, and I don't like it. And this was one of the problems we have now. So this is basically the spec-driven development. Also, I didn't explain, but in addition to everything I said, you also have small agents you can define that will automatically write the test, and the documentation is very simple, and it works great. So now let's talk about the benefits of Vibe, because benefits exist. And as I said before, yesterday I had a session of Vibe coding. I didn't want to go with spec-driven because what I needed was Vibe coding fitted excellent. So first of all, speed. Everything is faster. We see results very fast, and this is an advantage in some cases. Now, non-programmers can also do Vibe coding. Usually, not always, depends. But in many cases, non-programmers. So if we have a manager in a specific domain, it can easily do Vibe coding. I, for instance, wanted to see how good it is, and it took me 1 hour to develop an accounting management application. It looks great, but I had no idea about the code inside. I didn't like it because of that. But you can easily, as someone that who is not programming, to start developing, not coding. Now, using Vibe, you focus on the way the application works, because you tell AI it should work this way or that way. You also focus on the UI, the UX. You say how you want it to look. This is the focus, and which fits many of us. But of course, there are also disadvantages. First, maintainability, because you get code generated by AI that might be not of the highest quality possible, difficult to maintain. Whoops. Difficulty to maintain, and it may be very difficult to maintain, and not to mention scaling. Scaling, I mean, when it comes to dealing with huge traffic, you want the application to handle that properly. It might become difficult because you have no idea about the code, and it might be of a low quality. This is a problem. Now, eventually, the risk is getting a black box, something we don't have a clue about. And if we ask a developer to fix things, it will be nearly impossible. Because if the developer looks at code that he didn't develop, he didn't write, it is very difficult for the developer to understand. And if the code is of a low quality, it becomes mission impossible. So this is a problem. But as I said, there are cases where vibe coding fits great. If you need a prototype, something that works just to show the investors, if it is just something you're going to throw away, if it is just experimenting with ideas, go with it. Just tell AI, I want a web browser that allows doing this and that. It will develop for your web browser. And simple programs, of course, as I had yesterday, it's great for vibe coding. Now, what about spec-driven? Well, using spec-driven, we have the specs, the requirements, the spec, everything is aligned, everyone is aligned with. So we have developers, testers, AI agents, stakeholders, all of them look at the same document. So everyone is aligned with each other, everything is clear. This is a huge advantage, especially when dealing with long-term projects. Think from where Kiro emerged. Who developed Kiro? It's coming from Amazon. They have an amazing server side. You know, all Amazon Web Services, the web store, everything they allow. It's a huge server side. Lots of developers work on it, maintain it. So you need to work, and you need the managers to have some sort of control of what happens. So Kiro provides that because there is the requirement, the spec. If you want to change something, it is a new requirement. And when you add a new requirement, Kiro updates the specs. Okay, it updates the design, the list of tasks. It adds something. So everything is in control from the management perspective, which is much better. Less errors. Because in Kiro, you develop step by step. You are the man in the loop. You approve every segment of code that is added. You approve, so you are the man in the loop. It's not a black box. You instruct the AI, the design patterns, the architecture, everything. And if you're not sure, you explore and you maybe agree with the AI suggestion, but you are in control. It's not a black box as with vibe coding. Faster onboarding. A new developer join the team, you tell him, look at the steering documents, please. If you don't understand something, ask AI, because Kiro comes with a chat. You can interact with AI and ask questions. And that's it. This is a very fast onboarding. This is very important. Trust me, during the years 2001, 2007, I mainly was into development, lots of games and applications for mobile telephones, including server-side, working worldwide. It was crazy. You want fast boarding, because if someone goes and another developer comes instead, it doesn't succeed to fill in the place of the previous developer, this is a disaster. So first, you want to work with frameworks to make it simpler for the new developers. But having specs as part of the project folder, you simply tell the new developer, go over the documents. If you don't understand, ask AI. AI already knows everything, understands everything, because this is not something new for him. He digested it, it works on it, he lives it through the entire life cycle of the project. So this is an amazing advantage. Consistency. When you work with spec-driven development, all developers are synced the same style guide, because developers don't code, AI code, developers just control. So we have the same security guidelines implemented everywhere, the same styling implemented everywhere. So we have consistency throughout the entire project that might span over lots of developers. Now, the disadvantages, they exist. First, implementing SDD means that team must work on the requirements first. They need to make that effort, because that takes time, especially if the team is not just one person, but few more, including non-developers. Till you have the requirements finalized, you can't move forward, because then the entire flow won't be efficient, won't won't work properly. So you must put time in that phase when you work on the requirements. It takes time. Now, when dealing with rapid prototyping, SDD is too much. It takes time, no need. So it's not ideal for that. Now, this I think is one of the biggest disadvantage for now. There is a need in a dramatic mindset shift. And I will explain. Developers are used to agile. They are used to working fast, coding, evolving with the system, interacting with others, introducing change. They are not used to start with documents in English, UML diagrams, ears, state machines, and so on. They are not used to that. There is a need to change something in their mindset. And this is not simple. Trust me, I know that. I saw that for most developers. Now, there is still a problem with the tools. Kiro is not, how to say, it works, but there are things to fix and improve. And the same with what JetBrains produce, the tools coming from JetBrains. The other tools, they fall behind. They don't match even what Kiro and JetBrains offer us today. For now, they will improve if they think that this direction is a direction to follow, because many developers don't like the idea of having everything in English, having specs, requirements, and so on in the beginning. Now, when the application is simple, it works fine, but when it becomes complicated, sophisticated, too many files, it starts working slow. So my suggestion, split the project into smaller ones. Now, there is also the risk of too many specifications that we lose. At some point, we are not well connected with every detail. We are not AI, okay? AI is capable. We, as humans, we have limitations. So at some point, too many specifications, too many woods. We don't see we see nothing. Now, when there is a need to change, we need to first change the spec. This is something that works, but it is a flow that takes time. And management, they enjoy looking at the results. Oh, we implemented AI in our company, we saved huge money, and development becomes faster. But now every change is very slow, because you need to change the requirement and the specs, and then task of list, and then AI do it one after the other. It takes time. Not everyone is aware of that. Now, there is also the problem of how AI interprets, but this is a very tiny problem. In my opinion, my experience so far is that the problem is usually not with AI. The problem is usually with the tooling, maybe. AI works a bit slower, but AI eventually the interpretation is fine. So when a spec fits large, long-lived, complex system, think about what we have on Amazon server. This is a classic case for spec-driven development. They develop the tool for their needs. When we have lots of agents, lots of teams, we want everyone to be aligned with each other. When we need traceability, when you look at Kiro, you can see, I want to show you, each task lists the exact requirement it relates to. So we have an amazing control of what happens. Everyone is on the same page. We don't waste time on talking, no more. Now, when the development relies mainly on AI, spec-driven is excellent because you allow AI to do everything. If the development includes lots of coding, proper coding that we code, I would suggest doing it in a separate project, not mix it with code generated by AI, because AI won't be aware of what you did in a proper way. Then eventually the result won't be very good. Now, when we need to the control by the management, spec-driven is excellent. Okay, that's it, 30 minutes. Now I will be very glad to answer all questions you might have, so please.